Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. On today's show, I want to ask, can David Ayer trust James Gunn, David Zaslav of Warner Brothers Discovery over their assurances and promises to release the Ayer cut if David Ayer played nice? Let's backtrack this situation, because this situation has really been in development prior to David Zaslav's involvement and Discovery's involvement in Warner Brothers. This all started when James Gunn was brought in to write and direct James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Suddenly, David Ayer was being very positive about James Gunn's movie and James Gunn. From that moment on, it was pretty obvious to me, the neighbour, and everybody else in the DC Universe population that David Ayer had been given, assurances by the leadership of Warner Brothers back then and James Gunn, because his positivity with James Gunn and about James Gunn and about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was there for everybody to see. So he was obviously told, be positive about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and you will get your Ayer cut released. Now, I know a few people, a few fans, Snyder fans, Ayer cut fans, that have actually seen David Ayer's version of his Suicide Squad movie that's basically called by fans the Ayer cut. And what I've heard is that it's an outstanding movie. It's dramatically different to what was actually released in movie theatres, because that movie was tampered with. BVS had half an hour cut from it. The first Suicide Squad movie was tampered with, and it wasn't the movie that David Ayer had worked so hard on. Justice League isn't the movie that Zack Snyder worked so hard on. So there's a pattern of studio interference. We all know that. It's an old story. I don't really want to get into the rights and wrongs of that in this video. But what I want to say is that it's pretty clear that David Ayer was made assurances by AT&T and James Gunn to play nice. Now, the other day, David Ayer goes, James Gunn has every right to make his stuff and for us to be patient because good things are coming. I don't think he's talking about the Ayer cut. He's talking about James Gunn's and Peter Safran's DC Universe, and I agree, good things are coming. I'm very, very excited for all of that. But David, why hasn't your movie been released? I said it from the moment that the Snyder Cut was greenlit, that in fact it should have been the Ayer cut that was released before the Snyder Cut, because narratively in the old DCEU run by Zack Snyder, that film came before Justice League, whether it's Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League. Narratively, the Ayer cut comes first, and unlike Zack's Snyder cut, the Ayer cut is pretty much ready to go, as we know, because some fans have already seen it. David has allowed some people, some faithful people, to see his movie. And as I said, I've had glowing reports about this movie. A great score, a proper composed score, not shitty radio music. I'm not a fan of radio music, of too many songs in films. I like someone to compose a score. I'm very old-fashioned in terms of that. So I want to see this movie as well so I can make my own mind up, but David Ayer has every right for his Ayer cut to be released. My question now to James Gunn and David Zaslav and everybody else in positions of power, either at DC Studios or Warner Brothers Pictures or Warner Brothers Discovery, why hasn't this movie been released? Why can't this movie be released? Well, there's a new vision, Move on, Mick. No, I don't want to move on. I don't want to move on. Clearly, promises have been made to David Ayer. And even now, David Ayer is shilling for them in hope one day, either soon or in the future, they release the Ayer cut. What I'm saying is, why not release it now? Either on HBO Max, Blu-ray and 4K, home release, do it all. I'm not saying there's a big profit in releasing this movie, but literally, you don't have to do anything. Apart from, do whatever you have to do to distribute the movie, to release it, at home and on streaming, and you can sell it digitally. You can sell it on whatever, however they do it with Apple, Amazon, you can buy stuff on Amazon. There's different places that you can buy movies and TV shows right today, digitally. So there is money to be made. There's no money that needs to be spent on this movie. So why not release it? There doesn't seem to be any good reason not to release this movie. So it's like they're dangling the bait at David Ayer, and he's constantly being positive about James Gunn and what he's doing. But let me just say something about the whole thing. Oh, he's got every right to be doing his stuff. Of course he has. No one has said that James Gunn hasn't got the right to do his DC Universe stuff. But releasing the Ayer cut doesn't affect or hurt any of that. And that's why my question is to James Gunn, or whoever, gets to decide whether the Ayer cut can be released or not, why hasn't it been released? The Snyder Cut was released in 2021, almost 2 years ago. And still we haven't seen the Ayer cut. It doesn't matter that we're moving on. It doesn't matter that we're moving away from the DCEU and we're going into a new timeline. I couldn't give a damn about that. Releasing this movie doesn't affect anyone. It doesn't matter that we're going down a new direction. Films should be enjoyed as a film, not what's happening 5 movies down the line. You should just watch the film for the film. Even if it's the next chapter, you focus on what you're watching. It doesn't matter that David Ayer hasn't got a future. But could it be that they're a little bit concerned that people may like this film a little bit too much, just like the previous leadership's concerns that people were going to see how great the Snyder Cut was and how there was no justification to remove Snyder from running the DCEU and bringing Joss Whedon and allow him to bastardize what Snyder had done. Jeff Johns and the previous leaderships bastardized what David Ayer did, and the movie that we all got home, the movie that we went to movie theatres to see, isn't David Ayer's movie. Now, I don't mind what we got of that Suicide Squad movie. I don't mind that theatrical cut. But David Ayer is the one who directed those actors, who wrote that movie, and it was rewritten and redone, and they shoved radio music all over it. That is nothing like David Ayer's vision. Let me tell you this. As a filmmaker, a writer, a director, an actor, it doesn't matter that David Ayer shot most of those scenes that you saw in that movie, and a lot of stuff was reshot for that movie as well. Now, I think they forced David Ayer to do the reshoots for them. So poor David Ayer. Then he had to lie that there wasn't another version of the movie. As he said, he had to play the good soldier. But let me tell you something, with my experience. The way you edit a movie is the way it will look. If you edit a movie in a certain way, and you edit the scenes in a certain order, that's what makes the movie. It's all in the editing. So you don't have to reshoot. You can edit it. You can put one scene there, one scene next, or one scene there and one scene there. It all depends how you put the movie together. So some people think that the Ayer cut isn't dramatically different to the movie we saw in movie theatres. That, my friends, is incorrect. David Ayer deserves for this movie to be released. We, as the fans, the paying customer, have said we want to see it. Well, I don't know about you, but I want to see it. I think that's only right. Because, just like Zack Snyder, they bastardized what David Ayer did, and it wasn't fair, because clearly from what I'm hearing back from multiple people and multiple sources, is that the Ayer cut was a damn fine movie, but they were scared after BVS. And the theatrical version, the bastardized version, of the Suicide Squad movie actually made almost $800 million, so it made good bank. I'm convinced that's because Harley, but mostly the Joker, have their relationship catalogued in that movie. And basically, the air cut is about Harley. She's the heart of the movie. So it's a shame, isn't it? And what's even more wrong about the theatrical cut, the bastardized version of David's movie, it's got written and directed by David Ayer. Now, he may have directed the movie, but he was instructed to shoot rewritten scenes from Jeff Johns. So when you see that portion of the movie written and directed by David Ayer, written and directed by David Ayer and Jeff Johns, but not together. You understand, right? It's wrong to say Justice League was directed by Zack Snyder. It's wrong to say that a bastardized version of that Suicide Squad movie, the one we saw, is solely written and directed by David Ayer, and that's my problem. I have one final thing to say before I say goodbye to you for today. Release the air cut. This has been Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.